Hey guys, this is Connor from Vancouver. I'm just sitting here eating at a Taco Bell for lunch, and this wonderful song comes on, Life is the Highway. Are you guys just trolling me for eating at Taco Bell? Thanks.
TBTL.
Love it or hate it, it appears to be another irreversible step along mankind's journey toward God only knows what.
I don't watch television. I don't even own a television. Notice I didn't say TV. TV is a nickname, and nicknames are for friends, and television is no friend of mine.
And you must admit, gentlemen, these two guys have really been a thorn in your sides.
You know what happens when you get a thorn in your side, Gene? It draws blood. You know, two big boys, and they think this is all fun and games.
Why don't you try and throw a little enthusiasm into this job a little, huh?
Hey, you know what time it is? It's time to get real.
All right, hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Tuesday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
The word that comes to mind is ludicrous.
My name's Luke Burbank, I'm your host.
Hey, cheer up. It's Taco Tuesday.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio, perched high above the mighty Columbia.
Oh, Ma, Pa, it's just beautiful.
Where we are looking at a beautiful sunny day that's going to get really warm by the end of today.
Be careful, though. It's spicy.
So we're trying to get out early and get after some yard projects here. You know, when the weather is nice here, that means a podcaster's thoughts turn to yard talk.
Wanted to add a few comments regarding your mole situation.
We do have a little bit of that here on episode 4725 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
Including something I just realized this morning. This morning, after a number of years living at this home, dealing with the landscaping and talking about it maybe too much here on the show, I realized something today for the first time.
What an idiot.
Talk about that. We'll talk about bowling monopolies, or we should say alleged bowling monopolies that are going on in Seattle and maybe even other places. Oh, and we're going to talk to this guy. He's the longest-running co-bro of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. I came in a little frazzled this morning, just because I've been dealing with some stuff around the house, getting ready for my daughter to come over. She's going to be visiting from Los Angeles, which will be fun. And he calmed me down by telling me this right before the show.
If you want to talk, I've got 2 ears, and they're tuned to the listening station.
He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. In the very, very last seconds of you introducing me, I was thinking, boy, I really don't have too much on my mind today, although I swear I had some earlier thoughts that maybe I could bounce off of you here at the beginning of the show. And unfortunately, the first thought that I want to share is, number one, dependent upon you hearing the same thing I heard, because I don't have any tape dialed in. And secondly, it kind of starts us off on a negative note. But I was laughing in my kitchen today because there was a segment on Morning Edition that sounded like a joke to me. It almost sounded like a sketch that is fuzzy in my brain that I had seen one time on some sort of sketch comedy show. Did you listen to Morning Edition today, and did you hear the segment where they introduced the winner? This is so mean for me to go after this person, but they introduced the winner of the Tiny Desk concert award for unsigned artist or whatever. They ask unsigned artists to submit their music, and then they pick one, and then it's a really, really good program. I've known people who've entered the contest before. But did you hear the big reveal today when they actually play the song?
No.
It's just so bad.
The song itself.
To me. Now, do you think I have better musical taste than the people who run NPR's Tiny Desk concert? Of course you don't. Nobody listening
you
does.
Might.
No, I don't think I do. I have a very narrow taste in music by most standards, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So I don't want to be like totally rude about this, but it was just like...
Was it at the end of the piece? I've got the piece in front of me, so I could try to needle drop to it. And the winner of the 2026 Tiny Desk concert is ...
Let's see if you could try needle dropping it. I don't know how far it is. And also, let me give a couple of caveats here. I was half listening. I was barely listening. I was listening on my phone speaker. So that does not help anything here. I'm like kind of puttering around. I got Lucy the puppy in the kitchen. I'm trying to probably give her a snack or something, doing some dishes. And so I'm not listening under the perfect circumstances here on my little phone speaker. And I just sort of hear them chattering about this contest. And I thought, oh yeah, our friend Leanie entered that one year. And I'm just sort of like, my mind is wandering. And then they play some sort of dramatic music, I believe. And then the song begins and it just sounded like cacophony to me.
For something that we've never heard before. We're looking for some emotion. We're looking for something that we didn't even know we were looking for. You know what I mean? And I think we got that this year.
Okay. It's time. Cue the dramatic music.
That was pretty good, actually.
Bobby, who is it?
We are.
What happened? Oh, I hate you. Okay. All right.
God damn it.
Okay.
It's two-screen experience. I was toggling between too many screens.
This is it. We wondered how long this show will go. And
I was toggling between two screens. I couldn't make that as seamless as... Will you fix that in post, please?
May 12th is the day I quit.
For the listeners, will you please fix that in post so they get the full comedic effect of what I almost pulled off there? Okay, so here's the real thing. Here we go.
We are so thrilled to announce that Cure for Paranoia has won this year's Tiny Desk contest.
Okay, and what's the winning song?
The song is called No Brainer.
Okay, here it is.
Everybody go left brain, right brain, no brain. Left brain, right brain, no brain. Go left brain, right brain, no brain. I lost my mind, I complain and go. I got my beats on in the gym. I got my beats on YouTube.
This part I don't actually hate.
Better than it sounded on my phone.
Okay.
But then they leave.
What I'll say is,
and then they
Andrew,
say, and then they come back and they're like, that's only one sound in this song. It has other sounds as well. And then
the band has over 74 people in it. I'm looking at a picture.
And then
it's the largest band by number of participants I've ever seen.
They play another chunk of this song. You're right. That did not sound quite as bad to me as it did blaring on my little phone. There was something about the build up to it. And again, it's driving me bananas, like what specific joke in pop culture I'm thinking of, where there's like kind of a big buildup and it's like we were just looking for somebody who would bring a new sound or whatever, and then it's like, and now let's play it, and they're just like like coming out of my phone so terribly, and then they play the more introspective part, and again I think maybe even tackling like, I don't know. It just seems so NPR to me. I think it's tackling like a serious issue, like maybe mental health or something, which I'm not trying to shit on that.
Here it is. Here's more tape of him. That was the last time on this show we had a build-up like that, and then we're let down with the sound of a Neanderthal voice.
Yeah.
They thought it was. Yeah, I mean, no need to yuck yums, but I think I would have had a similar reaction to you had I been listening. Also because, I mean, there's so much stuff that's come out of the Tiny Desk concert thing that's been really cool music, and really, by cool I just mean like interesting new music, or even famous artists reimagining their music so that they can play it, in a more acoustic sense. Like, I really do like Tiny Desk. I would say for me that song was not really connecting, because I think lyrically it was making some points that I feel like were not particularly mind-blowing to me. Because, Andrew, everyone talks about left brain, and a lot of people talk about right brain. What about no brain?
No, what about it, Luke?
Yeah,
what
dude.
about it?
What about no brain? I mean, that's a thing about like any kind of, they're described as an alternative hip-hop band, the band that won. I'm just looking at the little printout on the NPR website. And alternative hip-hop sounds like it's one neighborhood over from conscious hip-hop, which is something that I kind of struggle with.
Did you see the new Common commercial? Common's
I was
in a
literally
million
about to say
commercials.
We've been a long time critics of the work of Common.
Have you seen the latest one where he says I can't remember what he's advertising, but I do believe he's again sort of standing in front of the camera. He's just got a real TED Talk energy about him, and I swear he ends the commercial by saying, "It just makes common sense." And I'm leaning into your original name, right? He originally rapped under Common Sense before he shortened it to Common.
He did? I didn't know that.
I
wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Is that why I keep hearing
Don't tell Bob Mondello I said that. I could be wrong.
Well, he's the film critic, but okay.
Well, all the more reason. Don't bring him into this conversation.
First, I'll be like, he
has no place here. Who's the Tiny Desk original guy who has
Bob Boylan?
Bob Boylan, right?
You did the Bobs right.
Sure, yeah.
Oh man, I was just teeing up for an incredible joke when you Mondello'd me. Now I can't remember.
I'm so sorry. Although that was funny in a kind of accidental way.
Well, here's the thing. Common has been in a lot of movies, so it's possible Bob Mondello has reviewed a movie involving the acting of Common, because that's a thing that could have very much happened. I did come in here a little, believe it or not, a little sweaty, a little out of sorts, because I've been working in the yard before the show today, which is a rare thing. That's not usually a morning activity for me, but it has to do with the vagaries of electric-powered lawn mowing devices, and I'll explain very slowly and in great detail in a way that may take over 2 hours, much to the chagrin of our listeners, I believe. But you know that I've been dealing with a situation with my riding lawnmower. I have an electric riding lawnmower that I bought, that one of the batteries, it's got 4 batteries in it, and one of them died, and so it's not really holding a charge anymore. I can mow like a fifth of the lawn with it before it just completely gives up the ghost. So I did this whole thing where I took the lawnmower apart, got the batteries out, took them to the Napa Auto Parts store, got them tested, found out the first one was dead, ordered a new one in the mail, realized yesterday, Andrew, ordered the wrong battery, the wrong size of battery. No matter how much I tried to like cross-reference, you'd think in the modern era, in 2026, you would think this would be a knowable thing. Like, I'm trying to buy what's called a 12-volt sealed acid battery or something. So I just kept looking under Ryobi, but I didn't want to buy the Ryobi one because that one's like really expensive. So I was trying to buy a knockoff. And in fact, I couldn't even find the Ryobi one. So I just kept trying to find something that said, hey, if you're looking for this is the same thing. And I thought I had been very careful, but when it got here, the issue seems to be it's much larger than the other batteries. And it's like the size of a regular car battery. And it sits in, I think maybe it's made for like a golf cart or something.
Oh, okay, yeah, another electric vehicle. Can I ask a question? And I'm sorry, I know that you're already concerned about this being too long. And I will say up front that this is probably not necessary to your story and will just take us even further into tedium. But I understand that these batteries are expensive, so you can't just treat them like replacing the 4 batteries in a transistor radio. You know, like if my radio battery dies, I'll just throw out all 4 and then replace them. I know you can't do that because money is a factor here, but when you took them in to get them tested, you bought this machine new originally, so all the batteries started off new, and now only one of them was sort of dying. Did he tell you anything, the guy who tested them, about like, well, this other one's at 70% and this other one's at 50%, or is it all like kind of all or nothing? And does it drive you a little bit crazy after going through all of this that you don't know the status of potentially another battery that could, as my dad would say, shit the bed at any moment?
Well, I've stopped sleeping with the batteries. Just because we had an incident.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
because
total. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, they would always be like, we want to stay in the bed. I was like, we can't sleep in the bed. Then one of them shit the bed.
Yeah,
and I was like, this is why we don't do this, guys.
Exactly.
Come on. No, actually, he gave me a readout. Well, I made careful notes. I brought a notebook with me, Andrew, a small one.
Yeah.
I thought I might have had it in front of me. It was a different one, but I was double checking. I think it was maybe my like CBS Sunday morning Christmas bonus from a few years ago, which literally may have been like a Moleskine thing with the sun on it. They're sparing every expense. We'll see what it is under the Barry Weiss era.
Yeah. It'll be a setting
to
sun,
the free press.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, right. So I took notes because he actually was able to tell me, okay, this one's dead. And he was giving me numbers. He was like, it's supposed to be between this range and this range. And all of the other ones were in a really good range. Okay. So I have a sense that one of them was burned out and bad, and the other 3 were fine.
Wonder why.
So why that one
gets drained more than another.
Listen, I know you're not an AirPod guy, but this has been my question always about AirPods. Sometimes they will seem to be, because you can see on your phone each AirPod and how charged it is.
Yeah, I got some. They're not that brand, but I have some JBLs or something. Same thing. I'll be like 80% in the left and 70 in the right.
It's like, was I listening harder on the right?
That's a good
How
point.
are these ever different if they've been charged to the same? So this appears to be a similar thing. But here's where I'm going with all of this. So I was quite disappointed yesterday to realize that I had somehow botched this also. The process of getting this battery returned to Amazon, God only knows what that's going to look like for a couple of reasons. One, it's a battery. Luckily, I put it back. It's in the box that it came in, but it's got all kinds of like orange stickers on it. Like the number one thing that they're always asking us about. Now, this isn't lithium, so maybe that'll help. But I just don't feel like it's going to be a free and easy experience trying to send this $150, 50-pound battery back to from whence it came.
Yeah, hey, I want to ship this open glass of nitroglycerin. Is
Yeah.
that okay? How about that?
Yeah.
And I'll package it up with this battery.
So I feel like there's going to be a lot of questions that are being asked. If you remember, the last time I had something relatively heavy, they made me take it back to the FedEx desk at the Walgreens, where the woman instructed me or informed me that they were not allowed to do any packing of my product, which included taping the label onto the box. And she said to me, "Oh, if it's over the weight limit, I can't mail it." And I was like, "I promise you, it's not." I said that without knowing what the weight was, but I promised her that I did not want to carry that thing back to my car. So this battery is actually really heavy. So I feel like I haven't even gone on the Amazon website, but I feel like I'm going to get to the website and there's going to be some sort of a big, in all caps, disclaimer that basically says, you bought it, you own it now, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, just this seems like the least. They probably shouldn't even sell this kind of stuff over the internet, honestly, because of it's one thing to return, a typical product that's in a box. This thing is a whole other animal. So that was what I was going through yesterday. But then the problem was, so I got up this morning and I was like, well, so my daughter is coming over. She's coming to stay with me for a few days. We're doing a little late birthday celebration. We're going to see the family on Sunday, the whole Burbank clan. It's going to be great. But you know how I get around this stuff. I want everything to be really nice. So I was like, well, I'm just going to have to mow the lawn, but I'm going to have to do it with the push mower that I have, because that still works. That is also electric. It's also made by the Ryobi company. And the problem with that is that to do the whole lawn with that thing, it really eats the batteries.
Yeah, and how many do you have on that? Can you swap that one in and out? Have one charging?
I have 3 of those.
Great.
But the problem is I have 3 of those batteries, but they're different sizes in terms of how much power, how much energy they hold.
Yeah.
I have 3 different Ryobi batteries that go in the push mower, but they're different sizes, and I only have 2 chargers. And so I'm constantly rotating. I'm trying to keep them all charged at once, but the problem is to mow the entire lawn it involves more battery life than is contained on all 3 batteries at any one time, even if they're all fully charged. So my plan was I'll mow until the batteries run out before the show, and then I'll put them back on the charger. And then after the show this afternoon, I'll go back out and get whatever it is that I couldn't quite get to.
Oh, this is interesting. So you kind of like charge them all at once. So I only have one battery and one battery charger right now for my push mower, also very just, different size yard. But right now, like what I will do is I will, start with it fully charged because it's just charging in this resting state. And then when I mow the lawn, then eventually it does die. It doesn't quite get the whole yard. I get that thing charging, and then while that's charging, I use my electric weed eater to go around and then do that work while that thing is charging again. I would figure that like if you have 3 batteries, there's always 2 on the charger and 1 in the machine. And then when the one in the machine dies, then you swap that out with one of them that's been on the charger, and you're just constantly swapping them.
This is getting into a sort of chicken, fox, bag of rice scenario crossing the river that my brain can't fully function or can't fully follow. You might have described a smarter approach than what I was doing. I am going to do the weed whacking later today as well. That uses the same kind of battery.
Okay, forget about the weed whacking. What I'm saying is when you're using your machine, you sort of made it sound like you're going to use all 3 of them until all 3 of them are dead. But I'm saying that all 3 of them should never be dead. There's always 2 charging while 1 is being in use, right?
Yes, but here's the problem. They do not... I don't know how to explain this other than to say they do not recharge fast enough for that to work that way.
Yeah, okay. So
if that makes sense, they die more quickly
than they recharge.
It's asking a lot of them. It's asking a lot of. Here's what I'm really learning. This push battery powered lawnmower, unless you have like a bank of batteries, unless you have like 10 of these 6-hour 40-volt batteries that are charging at all times or whatever, that you can just keep swapping them out. It's actually a bad system. There's not enough. The battery technology is not good enough for this, because basically what happened was starting this morning, I had 3 fully charged batteries. So I put the first one in, I start mowing, it dies pretty quickly. I bring it back in, I pull another fully charged one off, put the dead battery on one of the chargers, go out there. That next one, because it's smaller too, I have a big battery and 2 smaller batteries. The smaller batteries have like 10 minutes of life in them. So, but I burned through the 2 smaller batteries before the large battery had really gotten back much of its mojo.
I think that's what the big difference is. I mean, the size of the yard, obviously, but also keep in mind, I only have 1 battery, but my 1 battery recharges pretty quickly. It's a different brand. It's like Greenworks or something. But I think that's the difference is my battery recharge. So, like, basically, when my battery dies, I can put that thing on the charger and just do 30 minutes of work somewhere else, tops 20 or 30 minutes of work, and then that thing is recharged, and I can go on with my day. So I sort of figured your batteries are charging. By the time another one dies, your other ones are fully charged, but it sounds like they take a long time to charge.
I think they're taking longer, or they're not fully charged. Like, for instance, I did end up pulling the big one back out, and it was like 3/4 of the way charged, but then it died pretty fast. You know, like they need to, they're basically, I don't know what size yard they were, this thing was designed for, but what I realized basically was that this push mower is not, and also it doesn't have any self-propulsion, right? I have to push it, which is actually very difficult because my yard is very hilly. So I'm constantly trying to like push this thing literally up a hill while it's kind of mowing the lawn, but also always slightly on the verge of getting bogged down with the like amount of wet grass. It's just a little dew this morning, you know, and stuff like that. Basically, I'm using this push mower that's not really up to the task of mowing my lawn. But here's where I'm going with all of this, Andrew. I started this process at about 7:45 this morning or something. By 8:45, I was done with the lawn. It took me 1 hour to do the entire lawn. And this is with the batteries dying. This is with pulling them out, recharging them, putting them on, limping them along, pushing this mower up and down the hill. Basically, and I'm looking at my lawn right now from here inside the studio. It looks better than it ever does when I'm mowing it with the riding mower.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the realization. I never needed the riding mower. I just needed a push mower that's good.
Yeah, with more batteries and more. Yeah.
No batteries. Gasolina. Yeah. Reopen that Strait of Hormuz, people, because I am going for a gas mower. I'm like, first of all, I think battery-powered push mower is, at least as my yard, I mean, it might work at your house, again, because of difference of yard size and elevation, and maybe you just have a better mower than me.
Or better batteries or something, yeah, because mine recharges really quickly.
But even the fact that you have to kind of do that calculation, which I know it's not a big deal. It's like, well, now the battery's dead, I'll work on something else. But it's sort of like,
if I had 2 batteries, which I'm going to do at some point this summer, that would solve my problem. Because mine would just be, there's always one on the charger and there's always one in the mower, and then I could just like swap it out. And then because it charges quickly. By the way, can I just say something about it? This is null and void now because you're thinking about maybe the riding mower isn't the way to go anyway, but I've been thinking about something. It's related to that question that I asked you at the beginning. Like, why did the first battery drain so much faster than those other 3 that are in the same machine? And when you were describing this to me the other day, you disassembling this mower, didn't you say that different batteries are actually feeding different functions of the lawnmower? Didn't you say?
I don't know about that.
Oh, I missed. I thought you said there were all these electrodes that were connected to the 4 different batteries, and maybe one was controlling the lights, and one was controlling the blade, and one was controlling something else. I must have totally had that wrong because I was looking it up, and it looks like some people do advise like maybe kind of cycling your batteries, rotating your batteries, so that
that would make sense because there must be something. I mean, it was battery number 1, by the way. I mean, as I sort of labeled them arbitrarily, but it was like. It was on the northwest corner. Imagine 4 batteries and the northwest corner of the cluster.
Yep.
So if we're moving clockwise, and kind of right to left in all the ways we tend to, it would have been like the first battery.
It would have been Washington State, not New England.
Exactly. It would have been Washington State, not Florida, and not California, and not New England.
Exactly right.
And in my mind, somehow that just makes it battery number 1. Sure. And it's very possible that it's somehow under more stress than the other ones for reasons that I don't fully understand. But this was the thing I realized this morning, Andrew. This whole time, this whole thing, all I needed, day 1, because, you know, when I lived in Bellingham, I didn't have a riding mower, and that was around the same amount of mowable grass. I'm on like an acre plus, but most of this property is not grass that is mowed. It's kind of wild, tall, you know, grass that turns into hay, that turns into a problem with me and my neighbor because if I don't get it brush hogged, he thinks it's a fire hazard. So there's actually only a certain amount of like lawn here that needs to be mowed, and it's not significantly more than what I had in Bellingham. And in fact, it might even be less if I'm thinking about it. And it never even occurred to me to try to have a riding mower in Bellingham because that wasn't really the culture. Then I get out here and I see my neighbor Bob is on a riding mower, and I'm thinking, like, I've moved to the country. That's what we do out here. And what I realized this morning, pushing around basically a glorified laptop that could barely mow the lawn and that did not propel itself, that I got the whole thing done in an hour, and it looks better than if I don't use the riding mower, because when you're mowing with whatever this you call it, a push mower, you just have so much more precision. You can just see what you're doing. You can go over. I did a lot of like double mow, as my dad would call it, where you mow a swath, and then the next time you come through, you sort of mow half of what you mowed already and half of the next one. So you're always kind of getting a little bit of a better sort of result, if you will. Everything that's getting mowed kind of twice.
And it's easier on the blades that way too. That's how I used to do really long grass out in the country, because the first one has to just take it all, right? But after that, when you have really long grass, you're just asking the lawnmower to take half of that grass.
Exactly.
That will also kill your batteries so much faster. Was it you who had that observation on the show the other day, or was it somebody else I was talking to about their yard? But they're like, it's amazing how the lawnmower will go through batteries more quickly the first mow of the season because of the grass is so thick.
And because I've been out of town and busy and running around, this is the longest that the grass has gone without me cutting it. I've been like almost doing it twice a week to stay on top of it. This was probably an entire week, and that's all it took for it to be very, very burly. And so what I was realizing this morning was that instead of however many years ago, 3-4 years ago, me going out and spending, let me just put it this way, the riding lawnmower was significantly more expensive than the first car that I ever owned.
Yeah.
Like by an order of like maybe 4 times or something. And I bought it without thinking, wait, what if I just bought a regular lawnmower that, again, had a pretty burly motor on it so that it could like really cut through the grass, because that's something that you can definitely, select for, and that will propel itself. So when I'm going up a hill with it, I'm not having to also physically push it up the hill. Like, it's just another example of me always kind of going with the more extreme solution to something than maybe was necessary. And I thought this morning, I was like, oh my God, this whole time. And also the other thing about the riding lawnmower is because I'm on such a hilly thing, this is really boring, but like there are so many times when I'm trying to get around something and I'm on an angle, and I have perfected this very weird thing I have to do, which is I have to, in the words of Fat Joe, lean back on the lawnmower so that the back wheel, which is what has the torque, is making contact with the grass, if that makes any sense. Because it wants to go up on 3 wheels, because I'm on some weird angle, and when it goes up on 3 wheels, it just stops working because the wheel that's spinning is not in contact with the ground. So if you saw me, Andrew, you would think that I was having some sort of a stroke because I'm leaning back in the most bizarre angle as if I've like passed out on the lawnmower, but I'm trying to shift my body weight so that the back wheel is making contact with the ground so I get some traction so I can get up this hill. It's just a bunch of stuff like that. When the whole time,
the good thing is it sounds safe.
Oh.
That's safety first on that. So it's only rear-wheel drive, huh? I think I am a little surprised by that.
I guess I don't know, but here's what I know. The back, so the Florida, Andrew, if we're talking about the wheels, like they're states, moving clockwise and right to left.
Yeah, absolutely.
The wheel that is Florida is when I'm going in this one particular part. And again, when you do something a lot, you just have so much experience with it. And now I just know, I'm on the part of the hill where, because I'm making this certain kind of turn, Florida wants to come detached from the ground, and I've got to lean back and get weight over it so that it makes contact again. And now we get just enough traction and push to get up this hill. It's just so much stuff like that it's like, if I would have just, for $300 at Home Depot, if I would have bought a big old Husqvarna or Honda or something like that just like pulls itself along and cuts the grass, without the battery dying on it left and right. I think I could mow this whole lawn in 30 minutes with a good push mower, which is blowing my mind.
Do you think you can sell the other one though? And it's a bummer that one of the battery, because now you have one battery pulled out and dead, but you don't want to buy a new battery, and especially now that you're in the midst of like trying to replace this thing. Is the thought maybe like get a new batteries to make it more sellable, or just sell it with the 3 working batteries and tell the buyer that you need to buy a new battery?
Well, it's unclear to me what even the market for one of these things is at this point, but this is what I really wanted to get to today, Andrew.
Buy, sell, and trade. It's Tradio.
I am offering a gently used Ryobi riding mower. Anybody who wants it, I'll take the highest bidder. No, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the battery that was kind of dying back in it. Because, I mean, it still starts and drives and stuff. Literally, if only so that if somebody wanted to buy it from me, they could at least drive it up to their car or something, or drive it up to a trailer. Like, it moves. It actually drives pretty well. It doesn't like to drive and mow at the same time because it's asking too much of the batteries. I think I'm going to put it back together. I think I'm going to just, and I'm going to say it's got a dead battery, so you're going to need to replace one of these batteries and see if somebody wants to buy it. I mean, it's otherwise, I replaced the blades a couple of years ago. It's probably not completely without some value, but I mean, what would be amazing if I can get enough for it that I can just buy like a decent push mower and then just call it good. But again, I know this is not like a big news story in America or something that anyone except me has spent any time thinking about. But like for the last, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years, I have been out here mowing along with this riding mower. I've been, dealing with it in one way or the other. And I've been like, it never even occurred to me that, oh yeah, this is probably a yard that could just be handled with a decent push mower. And only this morning did I realize that. And then I've regretted everything about the hassle and expense of the last 4 summers of my life.
I have a very, very mini version of that just for one part of my yard. But keep in mind, like everything about your story versus my story is sort of scaled because of the size of our respective yards. But I do have a push mower. It doesn't have self-propulsion or anything like that. It's just a little electric lawnmower that I actually really like a lot. Like I said, I am going to get a second battery for it, so there's always one charging that'll help things a little bit. But I have a lot of my yard, because it is so small, really is weed eatable, if that makes sense. I always growing up, we had so much property that it's just like you're just mowing, and you only use the weed eater like around telephone poles and around the edge of the house or the sidewalk or whatever, But you look at the people who are doing yard maintenance or landscaping all over the city, and it seems like they're doing so much more weed eating, right, with those like big weed eaters. And there's this one part of my yard that is very, very small, and we have like a compost tumbler on it in one place. There's like downspouts around it. We have our hose hanging from one, and I would always like try to push my lawnmower up into this area and try to just like mow it in as much as I could, and then go around and then do cleanup with the weed eater. And I think
call it the wheelie. The wheelie. Do you ever do that where you're like, you're kind of keeping it, the lawnmower is not fully flat because the grass is too long or it's too bumpy or whatever. So you're kind of like holding the lawnmower in a wheelie position and kind of moving it back.
Almost like a what do they call them? A Flowbee, or what was that hair cutter? What was that vacuum haircut? Yeah, something along the lines of that. Like you're not quite giving it the whole power. And then I was like, I think it was sometime last summer. I was like, dingus, that's me. I'm the dingus. Dingus. Just weed eat this whole area. Like, you don't need to be dragging this thing over the landscaping bricks to get it in. You know what I mean? Just like, just be like the guys that you see at the North Seattle Community College who are just like weed eating big swaths of grass. You just do that. And like, I think I never trusted myself for it to be even, but you just like learn how to do it. And so anyway, I sort of know what you mean having those kind of revelations. Luckily, mine isn't quite as the biggest headline from that story to me, which is not a headline at all. It is called Time Marches On. I just can't believe I would have told you that your lawnmower, you'd only used it for 2 seasons and this is your 3rd. I can't believe you lived there long enough to sort of burn through a lawnmower. How long has it been?
Maybe it's only been 2. I don't, I'm pretty bad with this stuff too. It feels like it's maybe been 3 summers, if not more.
Yeah.
Maybe I hope it's not only been 2, because if so, I've got the Ryobi Corporation has a strongly worded letter coming from me, because that seems like that thing, for how much it was, that thing should last a lot longer.
For new blades and a new battery already?
Well, the new blades were also because I think I drove over some pretty big rocks. That was kind of operator error. But and then the other thing is, and then we can move on to something slightly more interesting to the listeners.
Is there anything?
Not in my estimation, but we will soon get to the point. We're in this sort of actually nice moment of time where the grass is still green, but it's warm out.
Yeah.
And then we will soon move into where the grass is all dead, and all it is dandelions. It's non-growing grass and then weeds that have somehow cracked the code on how they can grow in the summertime. And for that, I mean, you definitely don't need a riding mower. I mean, that is very light work on the mower. That's just, that's just purely so that it sort of is more aesthetically pleasing to look at the grass, but it's like that would be an absolute piece of cake. So anyway,
you want a preview of next spring's yard talk? Because I think I've missed the window now, but I've been tempted by this for a while, and now I think I'm pretty committed to doing some light clover gardening or
clover gardening.
Not gardening, but you know how a lot of people in the Northwest, they'll just sprinkle clover seeds and have like kind of ground cover instead of actual green lawn. And I was talking. I believe our boy Hauser did this in his backyard. J-Dog, exactly. How do you come up with those nicknames? Hannah and I were talking about it on Spotless, and it's sort of it's a way to have something living in your yard during that terrible brown season when the sun comes and just like totally fries your yard. But obviously you don't have to waste like resources on like watering it and everything. Because I do love
the clover grows within the grass, and then it stays green when the grass is dead.
That is my understanding of it, although I think mileage may vary, and maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe the clover takes a little bit of a hit in the direct heat of summer as well. But apparently it is more sustainable and easier to maintain a kind of a green look with clover. And of course it will, and as Hannah pointed out, it won't be fully green either. Clover will sometimes bud into little white little mini flowers too. But I don't mind that. I just like something living there as opposed to like this area where I dug up all these bluebell bulbs because I wanted to get them out of my yard for Lucy's sake, and now I just have this big chunk of my yard again that is like this kind of like. Did I say this
patchy.
to you? No, I think I said it to Hannah. It's a little bit like the front of my head right now. Like I have this like balding head, but I got this little patch in front that won't go away, and it's like wispy. And you're just like, come on, man, just like go be there or don't be there. And like my lawn is sort of like that, where these bluebells used to be. Like there's little strands of grass coming up here and there. I'm like, I know that you're just gonna get fried by the sun in a minute anyway, and you're surrounded by dirt. It just looks not so great. And if I could just like casually like Johnny Appleseed sort of like drop, without cultivating it too much, have to do too much work, just sort of like maybe till the soil a little bit next spring before I think I'm too late on it now, but then maybe give some clover a chance to maybe take root and see what that's like. And again, not in any sort of sense of like kind of a perfection, but can I just improve? Can I bring a little bit more green to the yard without having to be obsessive?
Have you thought about rubbing clover seeds on your forehead?
I have. You know what? Are you familiar with Chia Pets?
I sure am.
I have been working on a little project over here.
We was hoping for some razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle.
That's right, man. Razzle-dazzle.
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle-dazzle.
All right, let's thank some of our dazzling donors. These folks are voluntarily donating money to the show so that this can be my job and Andrew's job and John Sklaroff's job. This is 100% listener-supported podcasting. It's a strange business model, and somehow it's working. Thanks to folks like Penny, Orlandini, in Gig Harbor, Washington. Beautiful Gig Harbor, Washington. Another year, another victory for the OGs. The Cobros. Nice,
I
Penny.
love that drop.
I've loved you guys for a long time. My now 44-year-old son introduced me to TBTL in the Cairo days. Well,
wow.
thank you, Penny's
so
son.
Penny's son would have been in his 20s then, right?
I guess you're right. 44, again, Schubert tip, carrying the one.
Of course. Yeah.
Maybe 17 years.
Carry
so
the Jesus Jones.
Let's see. I've listened daily while walking. I've planned 2 weddings while listening, awaited the birth of 3 grandchildren while listening, and got great comfort while listening as some of our fellow Americans chose fascism. You're my daily comfort and stability. The laughs and relatability to your everyday foibles are my daily bread. Thank you for making the effort day after day. It means so much. Aw, Penny, thank you so much for being such a pal of the show over the years. And I do kind of have to imagine hearing that Penny was turned onto the show by her son, that so doing the math on that, Penny is, whatever the age that Penny is, but let's just assume maybe 60s or 70s. And I'm imagining Penny's friends going, hey, what are you always listening to in those headphones? Or Penny referencing something and her being like, well, it's these two guys, and they talk about mowing their lawn, and like trying to explain TBTL to other people, particularly considering Penny's demo. I wonder what that's like for her.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of Penny's friends are daily podcast listeners, and certainly how many of them are listening to something like this, Dribble Drabble.
Just tell them we're a King of the Hill recap podcast.
I saw something, speaking of.
Wow, I cannot believe that. Much like the clover I plan on tossing into my yard, that really took root with you immediately, even though I had my doubts that it would.
Well, because I saw something on the internet the other day that I truly couldn't figure out if it was AI or not. And it was like a King of the Hill. What it was it was presented as like a red carpet. It was still photos, but like a red carpet event that was rolling out the live action King of the Hill.
I'm looking this up.
Can you see if this is a thing that they were basically doing King of the Hill, but with live actors? And it looked like Will Ferrell was going to be Hank Hill, which is interesting casting because I don't think of them as being kind of physically super similar. But like, I saw this and immediately I thought, oh, what an interesting idea. And then also I was intrigued by the casting of who they were casting in the different, live action roles of the people from King of the Hill. And then I was like, this is too, like, first of all, would Will Ferrell even sign on to do that? And like, is this real or not? And then I think it said somewhere contains AI generated content, but I couldn't tell if the whole thing was fake. Are they doing a live action King of the Hill?
It looks like this is some sort of fan fantasy that has been going on for years. But I'm telling you, I'm looking it up right now, and I don't know for sure what I'm seeing. But I'm seeing a lot of posts on Facebook about this, and there's something about that immediately I'm already like, okay.
Sus.
And I see that, like, yeah, there's like kind of like they're really focusing on like the teenage daughter in a lot of these pictures. Because,
oh, sure.
Pardon me, I was coughing there. I wasn't just pausing for effect. But it does casting King of the Hill live action casting Bruise Up. Okay, this was 2 weeks ago on TikTok. I'm now seeing, I think, the thing that you're seeing, but I'm no closer to telling you if it's real or not.
Will Ferrell as Hank Hill.
Is it Will Ferrell that I just saw?
I thought so. I zoomed in on it.
Oh, yeah, that does look like. But I see other fan things here where they're casting Tom Hanks as Hank Hill.
Oh.
Which that seems a little on the nose, Hanks.
I guess, but also just kind of like, again, if I'm thinking about Hank Hill, I can think of a lot of, or at least a number of actors who seem like they'd be a better fit for it. Almost like I guess John Goodman would be too old for it now. I love that we're now just fully in. We're dream casting the live action King of the Hill reboot, which may or may not even be a real thing. It probably isn't a real thing.
Wait, hold on, because here's what I'm looking for. Okay. I'm looking for. I made a mistake by not clicking on the news tab on Google. First, it's just like AI mode said that it's not a thing, but it's something that fans often have been sort of like fan casting or whatever. But I don't trust AI to give me any actual answer. So if you go over to news, you would think that if this were a real thing, if Will Smith were really on a red carpet pretending to cook burgers over a grill. What did I say?
Will Smith. That would be non-traditional casting.
That would be non-traditional casting. But also maybe, has he done anything since
I would just say,
slap?
What I would say is John Redcorn is in for some real trouble. Oh, wait, that's Dale Gribble's wife. Because famously the plot of Dale Gribble, who's the conspiracy theorist, is that his wife is clearly having an affair with this guy, John Redcorn. Their child is very obviously John Redcorn's, but Dale Gribble, king conspiracy theorist, has no idea about it.
Okay,
what I was really trying to think of was who Hank Hill's overly possessive husband energy would go towards, but that I was mixing up my characters.
So
Will Smith as Hank Hill.
But don't you feel like if that was Will Smith or Will Ferrell on the red carpet pretending, wouldn't there be news headlines? Like, wouldn't there would be? And I'm not seeing like a lot of news headlines on Google about this.
No, I think it was a total. But I guess my point in it was, unfortunately, that's the furthest I've gone down. Not even a rabbit hole. That's the furthest I've got into experiencing certain kind of media and not put it together that it was AI. Like, I was looking at it for a good 2 minutes before I thought, wait a minute, is this AI? Usually I feel like I kind of know right away. I tend to think of my media literacy as being fairly high at this point. But this was one where I had to say, I was looking at this like, oh, wow, this is great casting. Because my sense also is, because I think it was AI generated, they had, also morphed these well-known people into looking a lot like the people in the show, the drawings of the people in the show. And I was sort of just going, oh, wow, they really got Will Ferrell to look like Hank Hill. Oh, they really got, whatever. And it wasn't for about 2 minutes until I realized, oh, wait, no, this is all completely a made-up AI thing. And it just got me more than most AI things get me.
I am looking for, okay, now I'm on this, okay, yeah, when I type in like Will Ferrell and King of the Hill, something pops up, but I realize it's one of those I am in such the dredges of the internet right now, like the floating carcasses of once like legacy internet brands. I'm like on some AOL article here, and it called up King of the Hill and Will Ferrell only because one of the articles is about King of the Hill, and the other one, if you scroll down 1,000 pages, talks about Will Ferrell on SNL or something like that. So, because I was starting to believe that maybe it does look like a new season of the animated series is coming out soon, and I thought maybe Fox is just generating buzz by having a fun red carpet event where they're asking celebrities to come and portray these characters, but it won't be a show. But no, I'm just not getting any.
Well, hold on, I'm on TikTok now.
Yeah.
I found the original. Okay, I have found the original, thing that was. I found the original video that had me sort of confused, and I should have known right away because literally it says "real cartoon GPT." Mm-hmm. So as soon as you throw
I see
GPT
that now.
into it, real cartoon GPT. I should just know right away this is not real.
Yes.
It's a red carpet. It's by the way, pelican sighting right now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pelicans in beautiful formation, just gliding above the mighty Columbia.
Real or AI? Real?
Well, that's the thing. That's real, as far as I'm aware, and that is healing me. Whereas looking at a GPT cartoon of Will Ferrell barbecuing a steak, wearing an apron that says "Kiss the Cook," where he is pretending to be Hank Hill, a thing that I don't think ever happened.
Yeah.
I do not believe that Will Ferrell is really standing on a red carpet pretending to be Hank Hill. I think this is all made up. And then they cut to, it's Matthew McConaughey as Boomhauer. Mm-hmm. Again, this would be the casting of the decade if you were bringing together all of these stars. So I think this is probably an AI Matthew McConaughey. They've dyed his hair blonde or digitally created this character. That's him as Boomhauer. It is... let's see. I don't even know. It's like, who are they having play Peggy Hill? It almost looks like
that I don't recognize.
It's okay. It's supposed to be Kirsten Wiig, but that's where the AI is very unconvincing. It looks nothing like her. Like the other ones, you can see the famous person that they're casting as the this one. This looks like Megan Mullally. It does not look anything like Kirsten Wiig. Okay, and then next they're saying, David Spade as Dale Gribble. Which actually
I saw
works.
that. I recognized him.
Kind of works, right, as a thing. I can't believe we're giving this much time. Anya Taylor-Joy as Luann. So Anya Taylor-Joy from
That's
the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
And things like that.
And look who's next.
John C. Reilly as Bill Dotrieve.
Sweet berry wine.
Except what they haven't done is they have not fully baldetized John C. Reilly. John C. Reilly has way too much hair on top of his head for Bill Dotrieve, who is fully bald, and John C. Reilly merely has a receding hairline.
Yes.
I don't know why did they not? This is AI. You can do anything you want. Why did they not have him go fully bald? Like he other than the fact that he's wearing a tank top and jeans, they've done nothing really to make him look like the Bill Dotrieve character at all, as far as I can tell. His hair is totally wrong. And then last but not least, they've got Stephen Yun as Khan Supernuthophone, and then Danny DeVito as Cotton Hill, who is what? Is that Hank's dad?
I have no idea. Looking at
Hank
that,
Hill.
Yeah, maybe that is Hank Hill's dad. Yeah, I don't know the show all that well. I watched.
I don't know who.
You
were not a King of the Hill guy.
I mean, I watched it way back in the day when it was like literally like I remember being in college and like gathering at my friend Liz and Matt's apartment. They lived off campus and it was great. And we would watch The Simpsons and King of the Hill. Like I remember like being excited about
animation domination. Sure.
Exactly, but that was decades ago.
I think King of the Hill was actually a more subversive show. I mean, it's Mike Judge, right? So I think it's. I enjoyed it. I wasn't as deep in the world as some people were, but definitely something I watched on pretty much on the regular. And yeah, I think it's one of those shows that's like a lot of not like a lot of them, but like some of those animated shows. It seems like one kind of show, but if you watch it, it's actually a kind of, like I said, an interesting sort of subversive program. Anyway, that's about 15 minutes that we just dedicated, if not 20, to an AI-generated red carpet event that never happened.
Now, then we're not going to do the same treatment on this, but one of the other things I'm seeing now, because I'm on the tiki-taki that you were on, is, they do a bunch of these. I don't know who they are. Fans, computers, whatever.
The machines.
But they have the same exact thing for Bob's Burgers. They have I see here's Jenny Ortega as Tina Belcher standing outside of on a red carpet outside of a fake Bob's Burgers or whatever. So this is apparently something that happens in the zeitgeist.
What the slop, dude?
What the slop? Why?
But why did that slop? This is what I'm trying to figure out. Why did that slop get me? There's so much of the slop that I just I identify it as such and I let it go, or I have no. This, even though I knew this was slop, I was still interested enough to narrate for you, recite to you the fact that in a pretend universe, a computer decided to make Matthew McConaughey Boomhauer.
Yeah,
why did I even need to tell you that?
I know, but then I got obsessed with what I didn't want was I wanted to really know if this was a thing, so I didn't want to find out after the show. Oh no, it really is a big deal. They're coming out with this movie, and so maybe I pushed you into getting into
you did.
I did. This is
I
my
actually
fault.
blame you for this.
So if you just rotate your battery, so if you took the one that is in the Florida position now and move that up into the northwest, do you think
definitely
that would
worth
help?
trying?
I mean, certainly.
It couldn't hurt. It's the equivalent of just rolling the batteries in the remote. You know what I mean? Just leaving them in, but just rolling them with your thumb.
Because you don't want to get up to get to the battery, Daddy.
Well, or, I mean, as a kid, it was we just didn't ever have any batteries around. It wasn't even my remote. It'd be Peter, we didn't have a remote control for our TV. But, I remember being at, Peter's house, and there were batteries dying in the remote, and there weren't, more batteries around. We couldn't find more batteries, but we had heard through the rumor mill that if you just rolled the batteries, you just, with your thumb, just kind of spun them in place. Do you know about this?
I feel like I've done that in times of desperation, but I don't know if I ever had evidence that it worked. I don't know.
It seemed like it worked.
Yeah.
It really seemed, you'd get another 10 minutes out of it or something. You'd get it seemed like it kind of had some sort of positive impact. Anyway, Penny Orlandini, thank you so much for supporting the show. We really, really appreciate you. Maestro.
On your mark. Get set. Now ready, go. Everybody razzle dazzle.
It's our friend Brian Lane, who's in Auburn, Washington, just down I-5 from where Penny is. I mean, you have to take 16 over to I-5, but not too far south of Gig Harbor, or north of Gig Harbor, Washington.
I believe I will be Genevieve or I will be driving to Auburn later today, as a matter of fact, to pick up a
ladder.
No, just one.
Something else you're excited about?
Just one. Well, I can't.
One battery.
Just one battery, Daddy. One half of a battery, Daddy. No, just one of the cabinets that we need for this ongoing project, which I'm starting to think might. I literally was thinking last night. I can't imagine a world where this project is done anymore. I think we're just.
Are you still getting regular attendance from the workers?
Yeah, worker now. We're down to just the main guy. And I think he's on some major project, some guys trying to get his house done before the World Cup so he can Airbnb it out or something. So I'm sort of hearing about that. His, the kind of employee he had was just a little... Not showy uppy, so he's kind of out of the picture now. And so it's just he'll swing by for maybe an hour or two and apply more mud to one part of the wall and obsess over it, and then just be gone for a long time. And
do you feel like you're
the people who made our cabinets, as I was very excited about, have now. It's been so long. I shouldn't be airing this, but for some reason our contractor gave them a deadline of 1 week to get these cabinets done. And we found out about this when we went to meet the cabinet makers who are making these cabinets for us. And we said, 1 week? Why do you have to have this done in 1 week? And they're like, because that's what your guy told us. We have to have it in 1 week. And I look at Phoebes, I'm like, that's bananas, but I guess this is going to be done way sooner than I thought. That was in February. Now, since then, these cabinet makers have apparently moved from their SeaTac area facilities
location
to someplace in Auburn, and apparently because they're now, and I do not blame them for this, they have now been storing this thing that was a rush job for them for months and months and months, and now they had to move all of our cabinetry, and some of it apparently got scratched and dinged and damaged, and it's why did we force them? Why did our contractor force them to get this thing done in a week? And there's something about, like, we joke kind of about time management and you being a time optimist and me being a time pessimist, but it sort of seems like we have just entered this world of, like, literally not understanding when we came back from Hawaii. Now I've opened up something here, but we came back from Hawaii. We're like, well, when should we get this electrical work, like, inspected? And our contractor was like, "Oh, certainly. Oh, by Wednesday of this week." We came back from Hawaii like months ago, and like we're nowhere even near that step. And it's just like there's just sort of this. There's a lot of good things to be said about this fella, but this fantasy of how time works is incredible to me, and it is creating some issues. So anyway, that is why we're going down to visit Brian Lane in Auburn at some point today,
exactly,
to pick up our own damn cabinet.
Could Brian store the cabinets for you?
Maybe. Well, Brian could probably repaint the cabinets for us in a very artistic way.
That's what we call foreshadowing.
Yep.
Brian says, fellas, I appreciate your 300 to 400 hours of podcastery every year. Thanks for colonoscopy talk, too. It really helped me when I was red flagged for my first mandatory procedure. 5 polyps later, all good, and attaboy for prep.
Nice. They must know that the prep attaboy goes a long, long way. I have not heard any... Wait, I do not mean to take this away from Brian, so maybe I should watch my words more carefully. But I've heard other people say, yeah, I got an attaboy for the prep or whatever, good job on the prep. And I think that the doctors must know that it is such an ordeal that is what folks want to hear. I haven't heard anybody say, yeah, the doctor said it was dirty up there.
Well, I didn't get an attaboy. I didn't get it was dirty up there, but I didn't get a, like, we've never seen, you could eat off of this colon.
Well, I'm glad they didn't say
which
that.
is what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
I just got again, they were able to do the procedure. There was no issues. I wasn't, I wasn't scolded for not, and by the way, I followed all the rules pretty carefully. Although I took the pills, and you drank the thing, right? Wasn't that the difference?
When you left, the doctor was showering and crying in the emergency shower that they set up in the corner of the room.
The one that's it's not even regular water. It's not even regular water. It's just like some kind of, it's like a foam.
At first,
it's a disinfectant foam.
First, a powder comes out, and then the foam.
Yeah, is that bad?
No,
that didn't happen with yours.
Yeah, but anyway, to answer your question, I drank a liquid, yes.
But I do think there's a kind of a person who's especially receptive to the attaboy. But you're right. I think that the attaboy, they need there to be, the rumor needs to spread that if you do a really good job on prep, you get some props from the doctor, because that will really inspire people to do the prep properly, which then, of course, will make the whole thing go better.
Yeah.
Brian continues, you may also remember I have an old archaic letterpress and printing studio in the International District. I do remember this, where I hand print postcards. It's called Print Zero Studios. So on Instagram, it's at Print Zero Studios. But I'm also a teaching artist who's often hired to host free interactive printing activities for all ages at various public events. I do block printing of animals, Lego printing, yes, paper crafts, and more. You can follow me at Printing Animals on Instagram. So there's 2 Instagrams where you can find Brian, Print Zero Studios, and Printing Animals. To see where I will be next, or to hire me for your event, see examples of my popular Build-A-Beast, that's a great name, and Lego printing activities too. Finally, I love tide pooling in West Seattle. Any 10s want to join me to see octopus, squid, giant sea stars, nudie branches? If so, you're welcome to message. I hope that last one is sea life related. If you're interested, you're welcome to message me. He says, okay, I think I got my dazzling money's worth this year. And I'm looking at, Brian has included for you and I, Andrew, some of these prints that he has done, and they're incredible.
Very cool.
I love this Build-A-Beast thing. So, I mean, what he's done is actually so smart, is he's created these stamps. I don't know if that's the term, but, forgive me, Brian, for my lack of vocabulary around this, but like, it's, basically like, you can combine all different manner of beast. So you've got the torso of one animal, and then you can go through and, like, you could do a giraffe, and then you've got a whole giraffe's body and a whole variety of other animals. Like this one has a flamingo, I believe, that you can go ahead and add to it. So you can make these very ornate and cool ink stamps of all kinds of crazy. There's an armadillo. What's it called?
Would it be kind of a cryptid, or am I misusing that? Like,
no, I think you're using that exactly correctly. Yeah. There's like an armadillo with like a little, almost like a Lucy head on it, actually. Or anyway, so this is all stuff that you can experience firsthand if you reach out to Brian and make contact at Printing Animals or at Print Zero Studios. Brian, thank you so much for supporting the show. We really would not be here without you.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
You actually sent me this article the other day, Andrew. Lawsuit accuses Lucky Strike of building a bowling monopoly. This is Remy Tuman writing in the New York Times. The classic bowling pins at Garage Billiards and Bowl in Seattle were replaced with new pins attached to strings. An hour of bowling for one in Yonkers, New York, cost about $60 before food and drink, and the lane wasn't even oiled. And in Oakland, California, a bowling center's pin-setting machines often break. These were just a few of the complaints in a lawsuit against Lucky Strike Entertainment Corporation this week by regular customers from across the U.S. Whose community bowling alleys have been taken over by what they call a Wall Street Goliath. The lawsuit filed in a U.S. District Court in Seattle says Lucky Strike has built a bowling monopoly and is responsible for the, quote, veritable destruction of the decades-old pastime of bowling in America. They're seeking class action status for the lawsuit, which asks for an undisclosed amount in damages. Lucky Strike operates more than 360 bowling alleys in North America. Geez, that's a lot.
Yes, it is. And we learned in this article that number popped up very, very quickly. They started by just owning and operating a few, right? Including, I think that's the reason why this is a kind of a Seattle area-centric story, is because you and I have clocked time both at the Garage on Capitol Hill, I believe, as well as Lucky Strike in Bellevue. And those were the two kind of modern hipster bowling alleys that I knew of.
Well, that's the funny part to me, is that they're using the Garage as the example of a bowling alley that was destroyed by Lucky Strike. The Garage was destroyed from day one.
Did they pick up the Garage later? I assume that maybe the Garage was one of their early experiments.
It says that they, let's see, I don't have the exact chain of custody on the Garage.
Okay.
But they're talking about the fact that the Garage had their bowling pins replaced with the kinds that have string on them, so that you don't need that whole... Because the thing about a bowling alley, an old school bowling alley, is much like an electric lawnmower. It takes a lot of maintenance and it breaks a lot. All of those pin resetting machines have a tremendous amount of mechanics and mechanisms around them. They're always breaking and they're expensive to fix. And so this idea was floated and created, really, where all of the bowling pins have string attached to the top of each one of them, so when they're knocked over, they just get popped back up and put in place. Of course, that's less to break, it's faster, it's cheaper, but there's nothing less fun than bowling at a bunch of pins that are attached to strings.
Have you ever done that? I've heard of this.
No, nor would I.
No, it gives me a bad feeling.
It's so unsatisfying to knock over a pin that way, obviously. But I just, not to get into the history of the Garage, but when I was in my 20s and a bowling man, or really more a man who liked to hang out at bowling alleys and drink, if people suggested the Garage, I mean, if in a pinch I would go, but I never liked it. Because it wasn't about bowling.
Yep.
And that's the thing. You go to Lilani Lanes, you go to, I always call it the wrong thing, Sunset Lanes in Ballard Lanes. What was I learned that for my whole life I was calling it the wrong name. But anyway, you go to those old school bowling alleys, and there was the whole areas of bowling where that's what it was about. Then you had the bar, which is what I was about. But these other places, the Lucky Strikes and the Garage, and I've never liked them because they feel like a hipster bar where every once in a while a small amount of bowling might occur.
Exactly. Yeah, I hate that. I was even just like Google mapping the Garage because I hadn't been there in a long time, and it just always felt too small, too expensive, too hipster, not enough bowling. Like, that's that vibe that I've always rejected, the kind of hipster culture, generally speaking, as it was sort of like manifested in places like kind of in like, fancy new. We've reclaimed this kind of old school homey thing, and we're turning it into something fresh but it's never organic. It always seems like there's too much money behind it. You might have just said it, but what was the name of the bowling alley that you and I clocked some time at, the authentic one where you almost got into a fight in the parking lot
I'm gonna need you to be more specific.
Okay, no, was it Mount Baker or not
yes,
quite?
No, but it was on Rainier Avenue.
Yeah,
but it was called, I forget the name of it. But yes, that was much
great.
more legit. Yeah, we went there. Yeah, we went there a few times. I'm forgetting the name, but I know exactly the place you're talking about. They're off of Rainier by Oh Boy Oberto.
Yeah,
and
which is RIP, I believe, R.I.P. that building.
I'm sure all of that. I'm sure everything good down there has now been replaced with something else. But yeah, that was a legit spot. I wonder if that even exists anymore.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
The problem is, it doesn't seem like bowling alleys, as you and I think of them, and as we. As I sort of think of the platonic ideal or the best expression of a bowling alley, for whatever reason, we've talked about this in one way or another over the years, but of course I now forget the exact market forces. For whatever reason, that is no longer a viable business, and I don't understand why. I don't know if it's because people, the easy explanation would be like everyone's on their phones too much, but that might not even be accurate. It's just like for some reason, it just seems like the bowling alleys of our childhood are, generally speaking, not economically viable anymore. But meanwhile, this whole idea of putting up a fancy bar and then having a little bit of bowling go on, that seems like it's still working to some degree. It's, by the way, this company, Lucky Strike, is it's on the New York Stock Exchange. What was called Bolero back in the day. I think Lucky Strike acquired something called Bolero. They announced in 2021 it would go public on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol BOWL at a valuation of $2.6 billion. At the time, it operated nearly 8 times as many bowling centers as its closest rival. The company continued to, quote, its roll-up acquisition strategy, purchasing Bowl America for $44 million in 2021, as well as dozens of independent bowling centers across the country. In May of 2022, for example, it acquired 3 bowling centers in Wichita, Kansas. Prices rose sharply, prompting many longtime league bowlers to quit, the lawsuit says. At one alley, the cost of lanes, food, and beverages tripled. In Seattle, 2 hours of bowling for 3 people in 2023 cost $285, the plaintiffs say. The lawsuit accuses Lucky Strike of using dynamic pricing, a strategy in which companies raise prices as demand rises. In September 2023, Bolero acquired the high-end bowling company Lucky Strike. This is so confusing. So is this Bolero?
Bolero became Bolero acquired Lucky Strike and then changed their corporate name after
to Lucky
they acquired
Strike.
That. Yeah.
How interesting. So they acquired them, but then they stuck with the name Lucky Strike
Then they
Entertainment
changed
Corporation.
their name. Yeah, from
I
yeah,
see.
exactly.
So this is actually Bolero, but they thought Lucky Strike was a better name.
Yeah, so they started acquiring things, and they acquired Lucky Strike, and then they changed their name from Bolero. By the way, Bolero acquired the garage in 2019. This was news to me, Luke. When you said you were going to the garage that early, like long before you and I met, I didn't realize that the garage is sort of an early example of these sort of hipster places. It looks like it goes back to, well, I'm reading an article here from 2016. For the record, that was 10 years ago, saying that it was turning 20 years old. So it's clearly 30.
96.
So now it's 30 years old now. That is, I give them credit for that. The fact that the garage was at least created by a couple of people who were like not just glomming onto some trend.
Yes.
I give them credit for that. They were going to try something new. They created it. It's been successful. But now, just 7 years ago, they were acquired by Lucky Strike in this huge vacuuming up of these bowling centers. What do you make of the lawsuit, Luke? And I know that's a dangerous question because you and I are not lawyers. In fact, I don't even know if we have any lawyers who listen to the show. But
unfortunately,
it would be just really cool if we could just find a couple of lawyers named Danny who could help us with this. But what do you make of the lawsuit? Because I hate this version of capitalism and late stage capitalism as we see it, but like, is it really breaking the laws of this terrible system that we have, this unethical, immoral capitalist system that we are living through in 2026?
That's the thing. I feel like so many of these class action lawsuits, and I guess this one isn't yet, they haven't been granted class action status, but it's like, I don't know, it's sort of like spitting into the wind a little bit. It's basically saying like, we don't like these places because they are too expensive now, and because it's not like the bowling alleys that we used to go to. And granted, I'm sure that I don't have any sense this is a quote unquote good company, but it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't seem. Here's the thing: you could say that it's anti-competitive. They're buying up all the bowling alleys and changing them, but also the bowling alleys that aren't bought up are just going out of business on their own. Like that's the problem. Is to me the main issue is that for some reason we as a society do not want to go bowling enough to support traditional bowling alleys, and so this to me seems like an effect of that or an outcome of that, not the cause of it. Like if regular bowling alleys were able to still, support themselves through what you and I think of as typical bowling activities, they'd be less susceptible to being sort of bought up by. I also wonder, and I say this with peace and love to Wichita, I wonder how places like real bowling places like Brunswick, Ohio, and Wichita, Kansas. Are there enough hipsters who want to go to a Lucky Strike and pay way too much money to bowl? Like, I'm wondering also, I was shocked at the number of these, like we said, however many is 300 and something, 360 bowling alleys in North America. I'm amazed that many of these Lucky Strikes can exist. They seem like in a big city, one of these would be enough.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the sort of, the lawsuit itself, it feels to me like, like people that are upset that that bowling is dying basically, and that these companies are a sign of that in a certain kind of weird way.
But they're also, this makes me really appreciate something that happened to me that I was irritated about years ago, and I've clung to, as I like to do. But now I feel very differently about it since reading this article. Do you remember I was, I don't know why you would, but I had a bowling date set up with a buddy of mine, and we were going to go to, I want to say, is it Kenmore Lanes or something? I think it was her, I think maybe I'd missed her birthday party proper, and I said, well, we'll go bowling. And then we had it on the books for a while, but I never made a reservation. And then it was about 3 hours before we were supposed to meet up, and I think it was Kenmore Lanes, and I called them. I'm like, hey, can I just reserve a lane for about in about 3 hours from now? And is it too late? And they're like, and I remember the person was just like really short with me, just like, he talked like the comic book guy a little bit, like, first you must answer me these riddle 3. But instead he sort of said, like, it is all league bowling tonight. He talked as if he had a sword collection for some reason. I don't know. There was something about the way he talked to me that was both a little bit condescending, but also, and I just been like, what? I can't give you my monies in order to bowl on a Wednesday. And I was just like, put off in the way that we're put off when we don't get what we want right away, right? But now, like, realizing that a big complaint of these plaintiffs is that this new hipster bowling thing is it's killing the leagues. They can't, like, these. I
read
think
that wrong.
I read this like days ago.
Keep
and
going,
know how
and
my
then
brain works. But I thought they were saying that, like, these hipster places aren't allowing the time and space for league nights anymore, and the league nights are the bread and butter of the industry, and the true bowlers, not the people who want to go there to buy, expensive sliders and maybe bowl a game, but instead, like, actually we are showing up because bowling is a passion and a sport to us. It is a sport, Luke. And they're saying that this trend is basically blocking out the leagues. And if I'm understanding that correctly, it makes me feel a little bit mad at myself for being shirty against league night, because I'm starting to realize how important that is.
No, you're absolutely right, Andrew. I had actually read this. I'd read this completely backwards. I had misunderstood it. You're right. The Laura Hampton, who joined her first bowling league when she was 12, said Lucky Strike has de-emphasized league play at the bowling alley she frequents, a former Bowl America in Prince William County, Virginia. She said Lucky Strike has maximized open play over the leagues she participates in. Since it took over several years ago, league bowlers are bowling alleys, quote, #1 customers, she said, returning week after week. For years. Mrs. Hampton is not a plaintiff in the lawsuit. She worries that future bowlers won't have the same experience, especially if there is a financial barrier. That's kind of interesting, too, because, as a non-league bowler, but when we used to go to bowling alleys a lot, and when we used to also bowl at bowling alleys a fair amount, sometimes we'd show up and we'd walk in and just be like league night, and we'd be so bummed.
Yeah.
Like, because, it didn't occur to us to call ahead. This was before the internet was so much of a thing on people's phones, certainly. So you just go down to the bowling alley and then be like, well, I guess we're going to be in the bar all night. This is league night. And in a way, for me as a non-league bowler, that was a bummer. But now there's something, like you said, that's kind of folksy about that. That's kind of sweet about a bunch of people who love bowling so much that they own their own shoes and their own ball bags, and they bring their different kinds of balls for different, scenarios they're trying to do. Like, there's something very charming about that. And to hear that these newfangled ones, these fancy ones, are like, yeah, we don't need you, because what we really want is a random bachelorette party coming in off of one of those bicycles that everybody pedals together where you drink beer.
Yeah.
Our dream scenario is a bachelorette party, bicycles over here on one of those bikes, and gets off, comes in super tipsy, and then bowls on a Friday night.
Yeah. And this is why I'm mad at Top Golf.
Because it ruined golf for you, too. Because I know you were like just a crazy driving range guy.
No, because there is a commercial that was running, and I don't know if I ever saw this on TV proper, but I certainly saw it in the prep for one of my episodes of After These Messages, and usually I like this, by the way. One of my favorite things about a commercial is when it has a very stated goal in the message it's kind of trying to put out there. Like, don't get me wrong, I like a Skittles commercial where a kid just gets Skittles pox and another kid starts eating his face. Like, I like the weirdness too. It doesn't really tie to the product. If anything, you would say that almost anti-ties to the product. Like, why would I want to think about something that I'm eating as a blemish on a teenager's face? Like, that's gross, but I appreciate the weirdness. But also, things, because of Skittles, just got too weird for too long. Like Doritos, look, it's a monkey baby dog thing that's running around. And it's like, do you remember that thing? It doesn't matter. But I like it when people are like, hey, listen, we have a goal here with this commercial, which is to talk about why our product might be better than somebody else's product. And Top Golf, which is like I think, family-oriented driving range kind of experience, if I understand it correctly.
Well, I think it's an alcohol-oriented driving range experience.
Well, this
it's the lucky strike of golfing now.
Well, this commercial that I saw is very, and we ended up watching several in the campaign, focused very much on the family experience, and they're going hard after bowling alleys. You see like a classic looking bowling alley, like. The thing is, they try so hard to make this bowling alley look unappealing, but there's something so cool and Lebowski-ish about that they turn the lighting down so low, because everything else just kind of looks iconic in there with the plastic seating and the colored balls all lined up. But the point is not supposed to be, hey, look how cool this is. Instead, they show a girl, like a little girl who's about 10 years old, and she picks up a bowling ball and she sticks her fingers in it, and then there's literally goo inside of it. Then a woman, a full-sized adult, I don't know if this is her mom or what, she takes the bowling shoes that she's rented and she holds them up to her nose and takes a big sniff, which is like, that's not how you're supposed to use shoes.
This stinks. You're better off at Top Golf, where your group can play golf for half off.
And now they're showing the happy family enjoying shakes and hamburgers and golfing at this driving range thing. And I saw this again for the podcast, like, I don't know, several months ago. And I have been angry about it ever since, because I'm just like, I like a commercial that says specifically, hey, listen, I want you to reframe the way you think about something and use our product or service instead. I think that's smart. But don't go after bowling. Like, they have enough problems. Like, are you telling me that so much of your business is being eaten up by family bowling nights? Like, can't you let the bowling alleys be?
Well, that's the thing. And I'll tell you, I think this is a bad business move for a few reasons. Because they're seeing it as a zero-sum game, which is that if people go bowling, then they won't go to Top Golf. First of all, my theory is that, because I've only ever heard about Top Golf being for like my adult friends who like golf and like drinking to go to Top Golf on dates, because there's like a huge bar behind all of the and waitresses that'll bring you food and drinks, and it's actually eerily similar to Lucky Strike in terms of its vibe. I bet you that they're saying we've saturated the market for those people. We've got to now try to rebrand this as a family experience to get families to start coming, which is an interesting business move by them. But also, here's the thing: by kicking bowling when it's down, let's just say that you're successful, you drive all the bowling alleys out of business or whatever. That just means, I think, that families are out doing less stuff. You would benefit as Top Golf from a culture or a climate wherein families just do more stuff.
I agree.
Sometimes they're bowling, sometimes they're top golfing. Like, Top Golf, or I should say bowling being healthy, is actually good for Top Golf, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
It just means people are leaving the house and going somewhere and doing activities. You should They should be banding together with everything else that's in the category to just try to get sort of like, when you go to an area of a town, the mattress district or whatever, and you think like, this is too much of this kind of store here, but they're like, no, more of this kind of store here is more people coming to this area for this stuff, and it's better for everybody.
Exactly. I remember that. I can't remember the name of that economic phenomenon, but that idea, and I always use the same example of like the mattress district, because you're like, why would you have them all in the same place? And it's like, well, you were going to the mattress district, and it's good, kind of a rising tide raises all boats kind of situation. You're right. This commercial should show... And I'm trying to think if they might have one like this in the campaign. They should show a family like scrolling through TikTok like mindlessly. And in fact, I'm wondering if I'm stealing. That might be another Topgolf commercial that we stumbled on during this conversation. But yeah, they should show people just like not leaving their house and like, let's get out and enjoy some sunshine. Are the Topgolfs? They're outdoor ranges, right? Or they're not?
They're outdoors.
Okay.
They're multi-level.
Okay.
So they're so that they can fit. You know what I mean? So they can fit more people in. So it'll be the ground floor. And then I don't know how many, if it's 3 or 4 levels. What I know is that if you're up on the top level, you're pretty high up because there are lots of videos going around of people drunkenly trying to whale on the ball and falling and then getting caught in the net.
Oh, no.
There are nets that are out at the edge of all of the upper levels because people semi-regularly fall, like take a swing at the ball and miss it, and then go tumbling and then fall into this net that's there to keep you from dying.
I'm looking for some of these videos right now. Topgolf in Auburn Hills, Michigan. Oh no, this is a net collapsing in a storm. Okay, well I think we know what I'm going to spend my afternoon doing, which is looking up and watching videos of people drunkenly falling into nets at Topgolf.
Yes, definitely. There's going to be a guy in one of the videos looks a lot like me. That's not me, Andrew. I want to be.
Why is he headbutting
a
guy in the parking lot?
Very clear. Again, you're going to have to be more specific about which Topgolf you're talking about because it's happened at a few of them. So, all right, what do you think, buddy?
If we're wrapping up the show there, I was going to give you a clean out, but if we're wrapping up the show, I would also like to say that not unlike the meme of so-and-so and so-and-so regain friendship, you did end up smoothing things out with that guy that you almost got into a fight with in the bowling alley. Do you remember that? We went back to that bowling alley. This is when we were hanging out like literally every single weekend. And I call it the dark times. No, it was a great time. But we went back. I remember we had to avoid that place for a while because you really did get into it with this guy. He was like, we're closing now. And he kicked us all out. And you're like, we're not done with our game. And you were a little drunk and aggro with him. Yeah. And you guys ended up in the parking lot. Nothing ended up happening other than posturing.
Yeah, but then an employee of the bowling alley, maybe
he's
the
out
manager,
there in his uniform.
I'm like almost fighting this guy.
But I will say that it caused a conundrum because we really liked bowling there,
and it was so close to our place. Yes. It was so convenient.
And so for a while we were like, well, I guess we'll avoid it. But do you remember we went back and we weren't sure if you were going to address it directly or whatever. But somehow you guys ended up totally buddying up by the end. Of all of that, and that's an important.
I think I apologized, and he accepted, and we were all good after that. But yeah, that was. I'd forgotten that was the guy that worked there. I forgot. I remember being in a whole fracas out in that parking lot, but I didn't remember the details. But yeah, you're right. It's because he was closing, but our game wasn't done, and I thought that was unfair, and didn't handle it well. But yeah, then we buried the hatchet. And,
I just couldn't believe I'd never hung out with a scruffy guy like you before. Like it seemed like
it never occurred to you to fight the bowling alley manager.
Yeah, I mean, but it really did. It felt like an episode of Bob's Burgers or something. Because I mean, in hindsight, I'm sort of picturing that way because he is in his like classic bowling, manager uniform. But I just can't believe that we still lived in a day and age where you said, meet me outside, and somebody said, okay, I will meet you outside. Like, to me, that's always just posturing. I'm never going to actually meet somebody outside. But the fact that the manager said, okay, hold on, let me just put a gone fishing sign on the door so I can go beat up a customer in the parking lot, which is not how it actually happened. But that he was willing to entertain this idea of, okay, well, the way to solve this, as Mr. Bowling Manager, is to follow this angry customer to the parking lot and settle this in fisticuffs.
Why do I feel like I can just imagine that guy just a few years later, Lucky Strike is trying to do a hostile takeover of that bowling alley, and he's the only person there, and he's just booby-trapped the whole thing, Macaulay Culkin style. He's one part Macaulay Culkin, one part Bill Murray in Caddyshack. He's just in camo, and he's just going to die with that bowling alley. Like, he's just like, bring it on! Like, real Braveheart energy.
I could be wrong. I might be gilding the lily here, but I think not only did you guys smooth things over, I think he did us a solid.
I think he brought us snacks.
I think he brought us free snacks or something.
I think he brought us free snacks. If I remember right, it was really like he was like, "Hey, I made these for you guys." Like it went from, and again, that would actually check out because probably that guy was wired the way I am, which is like running kind of hot, but then also. When I feel regret, I feel it deeply, and when I feel embarrassed, when I'm embarrassed of my actions, I feel really embarrassed. And here's what I would say: I think I'm a pretty good apologizer. Now, unfortunately, I've created a lot of reasons to apologize over the years, but I think when I apologize, I mean it, and I think it's pretty clear that I really mean it. I'm not just doing it to get an outcome; it's because I really feel regret. And I bet you he was a little bit like me. He probably got. A little hot that night, hotter than he wanted to. Then when I came in and apologized, it moved him in a way that he then was like bringing us snacks that he made for us. Like we ended up being really way tighter after that than we were before the almost fight.
Also, if anybody found out that, you know what I mean? Like he works for somebody. He didn't own the bowling alley, and he would be in way more trouble than you.
Maybe it was. I mean,
maybe
you can't beat up. I got to keep this on the down. It's like, let me. I'm going to try to buy their silence with some fried pickles.
And you know
worked.
what?
It worked until right now.
Absolutely, honestly, like you can
Secret's
buy
out.
My Love with fried pickles.
My Love can always be bought with deep fried bar snacks.
Do you like pickles? Do you like deep fried pickles? And if so, how do you like them presented? Do you like them like coins or do you like them like spears?
I think here's the thing about deep fried pickles to me are somehow less than the sum of their parts. I like pickles and I like things that are deep fried. I've never bit into a deep fried pickle and thought like that delivers on the promise of a deep fried pickle. Like they're edible to me. And I know you're not a ranch dressing guy, but like what I really like them as a delivery vehicle for ranch dressing or the dip that I'm dipping them in. Like they're not as good as a cheese stick to me. Is there something about the texture of a pickle? I don't think it does well under the deep frying technique.
It's weird. I did not expect to like them. I did not have them until I was an adult, but I did like them, and I do prefer them as a coin. It is weird. I'm not surprised if anybody said I don't like that. I don't like the texture. I would totally understand. It is a weird texture. Here is the most bananas thing about the whole thing. It is one of the only contexts in which I will eat one of those spicy Russian dressing dips that come with it. Not ranch necessarily, but usually I would just stay as far away from that stuff as possible. But you bring me out a tangy, dip with that stuff, and suddenly I'm eating that. I don't know what's up with pickles.
It's the best part. The dipping is the best part of that experience. But there's something about, again, it's a little bit like the pickle is somehow just always kind of gelatinous in there in a way that's just not satisfying to bite into versus a cheese stick where you get a good cheese pull, as they say, stuff like that. Like, I'm kind of surprised it's still going. I think it's just trading on reputation all these years later because we all like pickles and we like things that are deep fried.
But no, I really crave them. If I see, it's rare that I am at a place that they're on the menu, but if I see them on a menu, I'm like, ooh, I want them. So I legitimately like them, but I fully understand why somebody wouldn't, especially because I don't like eggplant. And the reason I don't like eggplant is because of that consistency and the texture. And it's not completely unlike that mushy, weird feeling.
Yeah, it is, but all right, we got to wrap things up because I've got to get out there and weed whack. I think my batteries are recharged, both literally and figuratively.
Nice.
So get after that and get on with the day. But we will be right back here tomorrow with more imaginary radio for all of you. So swing on by for that. In the meantime, have a great Tuesday, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Go Mariners. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.